This is my vow. All gods will die. This ends here and now!
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is my Thor Love and Thunder video, why Thanos didn't use Eternity to kill half the universe instead of the Infinity Gauntlet, because it seems like a pretty big shortcut. The movie itself was already kind of a speedrun version of the Infinity Saga. Get rid of a giant group of beings in one fell swoop. If you're brand new to the channel, I do Marvel videos every week. Marvel Comic-Con is happening next week. They're going to be dropping a bunch of big trailers, like Black Panther 2 trailer, some of the big Disney Plus series. I'll be doing videos for everything, so be sure to subscribe to get all those videos. And careful for spoilers for Thor Love and Thunder if you haven't seen the movie yet, because we'll be talking about the whole plot. But in the movie, Gorr's big plan is right out of the comics. He declares war on the MCU gods after learning about the Necro Sword and choosing him as his next champion. They never fully explain the voices coming to him from the Necro Sword in the movie, but I will do a separate video about that pretty soon. I'm just waiting a little bit longer because a lot of times Marvel will explain extra little details like that right after the movie comes out. Like a bunch of the Deadpool deleted scenes that were supposed to be in Doctor Strange 2. We literally just learned about that in the past week. Talk about maximum effort. Don't worry, I will do a separate video about that soon. But Gorr essentially does the same thing that Thanos did, only for the gods in the MCU. Just single universe. It's not meant to be a multiverse movie. It's just taking place in the 616 Marvel Cinematic Universe. But he's balancing the universe, getting rid of all the gods, because the majority of all gods are terrible people. As we saw during the Moon Knight series, Khonshu, pretty terrible god. And like after Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame came out, they had all the Thanos was right memes. They even included that during the Hawkeye series, like the Thanos was right meme in the bathroom. They actually did that meme after the Gorr arc and used it in the Mighty Thor storyline, which was a completely separate comic book arc where Jane Foster got the hammer. Like they actually canonized Gorr was right. Eventually, Gorr learns about a shortcut, a way to accomplish his goal, killing all the gods in one fell swoop. His Infinity Gauntlet level upgrade. In the comics, that was a bomb designed by a person called Shadrach, the god of bombs, that could kill all gods at the same time. They just called it the God Bomb. In the movie, that's what they used the cosmic entity Eternity for. There's some similarities between the comic book version and the movie version, but the way they use Eternity in the MCU is that he's like a one-time only, first person gets the prize, wish-granting genie, saying that Gorr plans to be the first person to make it to actual eternity and wish that the gods didn't exist, killing all them instantly. Both in the movie and in the comics, Eternity is meant to be the living embodiment of the entire universe. As a cosmic entity, it basically represents an entire idea, like it's the consciousness of everything that exists in the 616 Marvel universe. There's a version for every single universe in the multiverse, so like the version of Eternity in the 838 Illuminati universe would be different from the MCU version that we see in the movie, and if Gorr were able to travel the multiverse to the 838 universe, he couldn't wish that that version of Eternity kill all the 616 universe gods. Within their own universes, Eternity is basically omnipotent. They have control over all reality, time, and space, but just in the universe where they exist. So technically they could grant your wish, as long as it pertained to something in the universe where they exist. But like it couldn't kill the Living Tribunal, for instance, because the Living Tribunal is supposed to be a multiverse being. There's only one for the entire multiverse, and thus it's meant to be a little bit more powerful than Eternity. There are beings that are more powerful than the Living Tribunal, though, like the Beyonders, for example, are more powerful than the Living Tribunal because they exist outside the normal multiverse. So like the most powerful thing ever inside the entire multiverse would be like the one above all, the one true god of the entire multiverse. But that's so powerful that you rarely see them use that in stories. Like even when cosmic entities themselves, like the most powerful cosmic beings inside the multiverse go to war with each other, even then the one above all usually doesn't get involved. I don't think we'll ever see a version of that inside any of the MCU Disney Plus series or any of the MCU movies. So if Eternity is meant to be so powerful and there's only one Eternity inside the 616 universe, why didn't Thanos use it to accomplish his goal instead of going around assembling 6 different Infinity Stones using way more considerable effort? Like it took him a long time and a lot of effort to assemble all those Infinity Stones into the Infinity Gauntlet. One of the funny things in the comics, if you read the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet storyline, like the classic version that they based Infinity War in Avengers Endgame on, is that Thanos actually does use the Infinity Gauntlet to fight a version of Eternity. That's how powerful the Infinity Gauntlet is, that it's able to withstand the power of Eternity. In the movie, they explained that in the MCU, only the gods are supposed to know that you can use Eternity this way, do something like this about the wish granting, and only the gods are supposed to know how to actually get to Eternity, the secret of the Bifrost. They play it like Thor learns about this for the first time, like, oh look, it's the symbol of the Bifrost, but that's mostly because Thor is supposed to be kind of dumb inside the MCU. That's why in the movie they say that he accidentally, quote-unquote, enchants Mjolnir to protect Jane Foster, and that's how she winds up wielding it, because he accidentally laid an enchantment on it that was so powerful that it was like Odin's enchantment. The way that Gorr learned about eternity during the movie is by torturing other gods, getting them to reveal all the secrets of the Godhead and Omnipotent City. This is a big part of the comics, Gorr torturing other gods for more information on his quest, but in the movie, they kind of speed run over this part of the plot, like it's part of some of the deleted scenes. They're not very clear about this during the movie, but some of you probably picked up on this. The key to actually getting to eternity is using the Bifrost like they explained, but it opens a portal to the pocket dimension where actual eternity exists. Even though it's meant to be the consciousness of the entire universe, the way you actually would speak to eternity is inside this separate pocket dimension space. They call it an alternate realm, but that's the reason why the Bifrost is the key to getting there, because the Bifrost opens portals between different places, different dimensions as well. That's one of the cool things about the Bifrost that they get into in the comics, and they're a little bit more clear about, that they haven't really explained that much in the movies. Like, there's a big tutorial that Jane Foster does early in the movie explaining how the Bifrost works, like, oh, you open wormholes between 2 points in space. But you can actually do that between different dimensions, so like Thor can actually use the Bifrost to get to Valhalla, which is a different dimension, like a different state of existence where people's consciousness exists separately from their bodies. That's also the key for how Jane Foster can come back in future MCU projects. You could also bring back Odin, the other characters that are dead too, like the original version of Loki. They have a big joke about that earlier in the film too, like the 3 different times that Loki supposedly died. Another good example of this, the place where Eternity's actual consciousness exists, is it's kind of like the soul world or the soul gem, like this little pocket dimension where people go after they snap the Infinity Gauntlet. The place where Eternity exists, where the soul world is, isn't just like a physical place, like a planet where you could fly to if you had a spaceship. You need a tool for traveling across different dimensions. The reason in the movie why Zeus isn't so worried about Gorr killing all the gods actually reaching eternity is because he doesn't think that he's going to make it, and it's going to take him thousands of years to go around doing it the slow style, balancing the universe one pantheon at a time. Also because while he's doing that, as thousands of years go by, new gods will be born, replenishing their ranks. That's the whole reason why Gorr stole the Asgardian children, so that Thor would bring him Stormbreaker to bring him the Bifrost, rescue them, and give him the tool that he needed to reach eternity so that he could do it in one fell swoop. So technically Zeus was right, make another meme like terrible person said something that you agree with. Thor played right into Gorr's hand. But if Gorr didn't need the Necrosword to accomplish any of the things that he did, he just needed to be able to torture enough gods to get the information to plan or trick Thor into giving him the Bifrost. Thanos totally could have done that. If you remember at the end of Avengers Infinity War, he was able to soak a full power blast from Stormbreaker and then a massive, massive physical blow to the body from the axe itself. And because Stormbreaker didn't have the same worthiness enchantment on it that Mjolnir did, Thanos could use it just like Gorr did. He even used it against Thor in Avengers Endgame, like he literally picked up Stormbreaker mid-flight and tried to use it to kill Thor. But the main reason why Thanos didn't use Eternity to do this is mostly because he learned about the Infinity Stone's existence first, and even though Loki was working for him as part of his plan to assemble the Infinity Gauntlet, and Loki's one of the gods technically and would know about eternity, he'd know this same legend. If Thor knew about eternity, Loki's way smarter, way more studious than Thor. He would have known about it. He would have also known that the Bifrost is the key, but the whole thing is that Loki didn't tell Thanos about eternity or the way to use the Bifrost to get there because he was also using Thanos just as much as Thanos was using him. But the whole idea is that Loki didn't really care about Thanos ever accomplishing his goal. Like, he didn't care about him assembling the Infinity Gauntlet. He never liked Thanos. He only made the bargain with him initially out of a need for his own survival and his desire for revenge against Thor, Odin, and the Nine Realms just in general. But he didn't want to kill everyone in the Nine Realms. He just wanted them to acknowledge him as superior. Even when he successfully enchanted Odin to make him forget who he was and took over pretending to be him, he just spent all that time in Asgard ruling, lounging around, watching plays, and building statues to himself. So the main reason why Loki didn't reveal any of these secrets about eternity to Thanos was because they weren't to his advantage. And Thor had not created Stormbreaker yet, so Thanos would have had to conquer Asgard first and use its Bifrost, which at the time that Loki made the bargain with Thanos had just been destroyed. Odin didn't rebuild their Bifrost on Asgard till a little later, and all he would have had to do to stop Thanos, had Thanos discovered the secret to getting to eternity, is simply destroy the second Bifrost later. And tell Thor and anyone else who were going to fight Thanos not to use a weapon that was enhanced with the Bifrost. Like, how about you take these portal horses to Thanos instead of using the Bifrost because that's exactly what he needs. So technically, you have to give credit to Loki for keeping Thanos away from Eternity in the MCU this whole time. Like, Loki saves the day. Again, he'd be so proud of himself. This is the original Loki too that Thanos wound up killing in Avengers Infinity War, who is currently in Valhalla. So like, Jane Foster now could go talk to him if she wanted to. And like I said, if you do want to get really technical about it and use the comic book explainer, Thanos assembling the Infinity Gauntlet made him almost more powerful than Eternity itself, and Eternity has a will that's way stronger than the will of each of the Infinity Stones, so technically it was easier for Thanos to assemble the Infinity Stones than it was to convince Eternity to help him. There's a whole bunch of big cosmic concepts, cosmic entities that they introduced during the movie, so I'll do bonus videos for them too eventually. I just did a big post-credit scene video all about Hercules and what happens to Jane Foster, so I'll put a link in the description below for that. Congratulations, King Peter, you're the giveaway winner for the last big Marvel video that I did. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. My full Miss Marvel Episode 6 finale video will post Wednesday just like normal. Everyone click here to learn about all the Thor Love and Thunder alternate endings and deleted scenes, and click here for my full Thor Love and Thunder breakdown for the entire movie with Easter eggs for everything. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.